In progress.
Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for watching my presentation today. So the title of my presentation will be Mind Your Health. We're going to talk about some mental health, just to give you some background, just so you know more about it and understand it a bit more. We're also going to touch on teen suicide and self-harm as well. I am Shermya Evans. I am a current second-year undergrad student at University of California, Irvine. I am majoring in criminology, law, and society, and minoring in civic and community engagement. So that's a little about me. Personally, I have been doing a few talks at a few different events about mental health for a while now. I got into it with my work with Teen Court. So Teen Court is basically a diversionary program to where juvenile defenders that commit, let's say, lesser offenses, instead of going to jail or juvie, anything like that, they send them to Teen Court as a diversionary program and have a peer jury set the terms of their sentence and things like that. So while doing Teen Court, I was noticing a lot of mental health problems and mental health issues go unaddressed within the youth that came across us in court. So I figured someone should speak up about that. And that's kind of what I've been doing for the past few years. So just to get started. So as a group today, I want to make sure anyone watching or witnessing this video, we use it as an open and safe space so we can learn productively from each other or from what we hear in the slides. Listen actively. This means not just listening with your ears, but also opening your mind, opening your heart, because you're going to experience some things or hear some things that may be triggering or may bring some things up. So just listening actively, being aware of that, being aware of your own mental health throughout. Sometimes we may feel some things that may be stated in the slides or that I may speak on later and not understand it or not really realize it until we see it in front of us. So just be aware of that and be aware that there will be sensitive issues brought up throughout the duration of the slide. So if you need to take a break, pause, come back later, you're more than welcome to do that. Okay, so I'm going to start by defining mental health, because what is mental health? It's one of the phrases that we hear all the time, but not really defined for us. So here we have a definition from mind.org, and it says good mental health means being generally able to think, feel, and react in the ways that you need and want to live your life. But if you go through a period of poor mental health, you might find the ways you're frequently thinking, feeling, or reacting become difficult or even impossible to cope with. This can feel just as bad as a physical illness or even worse. So mental health, most people think that it's some problems or emotions and it's just in your head, and that's the only way that you'll have to deal with it, but that's actually not true. So mental health, if it gets to that degree, can present itself in physical issues or physical symptoms affecting your mood, your sleep, and just your life in general. So here I have good mental health equals emotional intelligence. So to me, the status of your mental health is directly dependent on your emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is defined by these 4 key points: self-management, self-awareness, social awareness, and relationship management. So self-management is how you are able to control your feelings, your behaviors, how you're able to manage your emotions in healthy ways. How do you take initiative? How do you follow through on commitments? And how do you adapt to changing circumstances in your environment? Self-awareness is how you recognize your own emotions and how they affect your thoughts and behavior, and knowing your strengths, weaknesses, and how to handle those. Social awareness is how do you empathize with other people? How can you pick up on those emotions of other people? How do you talk about them? How do you communicate with other people? And basically, like those emotional cues, how do you feel in groups? How do you feel in crowds? Like just being aware of that. And then lastly would be relationship management. So do you know how to develop and maintain good and healthy relationships, whether it be with friends, family, business relationships, like anything like that? Like what is your dynamic in those relationships? How do you handle those? So, and then how do you work well in a team, and how do you manage conflict if it arises in that team? So those 4 key points make up your emotional intelligence, and anything within the umbrella of those 4 key points make up your mental health. So there is a multitude of different mental health issues. Some you may have heard of, some you may have not heard of. So we have anxiety, depression, eating problems or disorders, phobias, obsessive compulsive disorder, and PTSD. And this is just to name a few. So the 2 most common that we hear are anxiety and depression. So anxiety is when we get those feelings of worry, or we get tense and afraid, particularly about things that we think are about to happen, maybe that have happened, or that we think will happen in the future. And this is one of those things that can affect how we sleep. If it gets that bad, it can cause panic attacks, sweating, your chest can feel tight. And if you feel it occasionally, that's a normal human experience. Most people feel anxiety in their day-to-day. Like new job interview, you're meeting your new boss, you may feel anxiety. Kids going to a new school, joining a new class, transitioning from middle to high school, you may feel anxiety. So those instances, that's normal anxiety. Everyone gets them day to day. But if you get feelings of anxiety that are very strong and like really affect how you move through your life, or are very long lasting, those can be very overwhelming. And that's when it comes to present itself in physical symptoms. Like I said, with the not being able to sleep, panic attacks, it may affect your diet, anything like that. And then depression, it's a feeling of having like a really low mood, like extreme spouts of sadness that last a long time and affect your everyday life. It can make you feel emotions like hopelessness, despairing, come in the forms of guilt, worthlessness. You'll be unmotivated and basically feel like you don't have the energy to navigate yourself through your everyday life. So in its mildest form, depression does not stop you from leading a normal life, but it does make everything harder for you. Like I said, you may not have the energy, or you may not feel like it's worth your time or even worthwhile to do those things. And at its most severe, depression can lead to suicidal thoughts, ideation, self-harm, and can be life-threatening. So talking a little further about depression, there's a statistic that says 1 in 5 teens, which is 20% of every teen, will experience depression before adulthood. And untreated, depression is a leading cause of suicide. So if you have those feelings of depression or sadness that last for long periods of time that I mentioned before, going untreated or just leaving it in, thinking you can handle it, bottling it up, throwing it away, that can progress very quickly and get really far. So there are 4 most common types of depression. You have the major depressive disorder, dysthymic disorder, manic depression, and adjustment disorder. So major depressive disorder, or MDD, is when it comes in episodes of intense depression. So this is when the feelings are really strong, come at you really heavy, and then it's separated by periods of a stable mood. So you may feel this for weeks, really strongly, really negative, sad, depressive, and then stable moods. So it comes in those spouts. Dysthymic disorder is less intense, depressive episodes, but they last longer. So with this one, you may not get into the suicidal ideation, or maybe not get into self-harm or anything like that, but you are still having these feelings and they are lasting for longer periods of time. And then you have manic depression, or what is also known as bipolar disorder, where you experience intense mood swings, your emotions go from really high highs to really low lows over time. And then adjustment disorder. This is one that you may not have heard of. It's one that I didn't really know much about until more recently. So this one is more short term, and it comes when you're having difficulty coping or adjusting to a particular source of stress. So let's say your parents are divorced, and that can send you into a spout of depression for a short period. Let's say you lose a loved one, that as well, it is grief, but grief can also send you into depression. So to give a personal example of my own struggles with depression, I would say more in particular adjustment disorder. Last year, I dealt with a really big family tragedy. It was a car accident that took 5 family members of mine. And these people, of course, they were my family, but I also had lived with them for years. They meant the world to me. And it was really hard on all of us for a very long time. So everyone knows about grief. Everyone, I'm sure, in their own way has experienced grief to some degree. And we've all heard about the 7 stages, but experience a loss that great, it's not, I would say there's no normal way to grieve to that. There's no normal way to grieve. Everyone grieves in their own ways. And this instance was not my first time dealing with grief personally. This is something that I have dealt with before because I have lost people in the past. But for some reason, this particular incident made it a lot worse for my mental health, and I took it a lot harder. I was excluding myself from my family. I was keeping things in. I was not communicating my emotions. I was basically trying to handle it on my own, because I always said that I'm a person that can handle anything. So I tried to handle it on my own, and by bottling up those emotions, it really took a toll on my mental health, to the point where I was sad all the time. I did not want to go out. I did not want to hang out with my friends. I wanted to be to myself. Then I started experiencing those thoughts of suicidal ideation. Not that I wanted to end my life, but that I just did not want to go on living the current life that I was. So just because you experience these thoughts, you experience these emotions, does not mean there's something wrong with you, you need help immediately. Don't think there's something wrong with you. This is something that a lot of people go through and a lot of people experience. It just depends on how you handle it and when you decide to get that help, or who you let help. How do you communicate with your family? How do you communicate your feelings to your friends? Like anything like that, like what is your outlet? Right? So common triggers for depression, that can come from academic stress, midterms coming up, finals coming up, trying to manage good grades, trying to get into that top university that you've been wanting to get into since elementary school, all of that intense stress, trauma, like I said, losing loved ones, losing friends, financial struggles, familial relationships or personal relationship struggles or turmoil can also be contributing factors that cause depression. So talking a little further into suicidal ideation, this is suicidal feelings that can range from being preoccupied by abstract or fleeting thoughts about ending your life, and that would be known as passive suicidal ideation, or feeling that people would be better off without you, or thinking about methods, enacting a plan, or like basically clear intent to end your life. You intend to end your life. That is active suicidal ideation. And those are serious feelings that you have to recognize and say, okay, maybe I should talk to someone when you're ready on your terms, because suicide is the third leading cause of death for youth and young adults between the ages of 10 to 24. And that's a big deal. Obviously, a lot of youth, a lot of teens feel like they've gotten to the point where they don't want to live anymore. So how can we change that? How can we change these numbers? What can we do? So suicidal ideation, like I said, going back to passive ideation, if they don't have a plan to end their life, if they don't plan to end their life, they might instead engage in self-harm. So some general information about self-harm, it's basically when you inflict bodily injuries upon yourself purposefully with the intent of doing harm or causing yourself pain. So self-harm in itself is not known as a mental health problem, but it is linked to mental distress. So it can be a cause of intense anxiety, it can be a cause of depression, of bipolar disorder, anything like that. Any of those mental problems can lead to self-harm if going untreated. So this is most common in youth living with, like I said, anxiety and depression. They are typically the ones who enact in self-harm. And the average age of the first incident of self-harm is 13. So like I said, as it's most common in youth, their first time enacting in self-harm is at the age of 13. And what happens at the age of 13? We just become a teenager, we're going into another grade, we have a new set of expectations with ourselves, with our parents, with society, and that can lead to a lot of stressors being placed on us. And teenagers, especially young teenagers, really don't know how to deal with or process those emotions. So understanding why, why am I doing this? Why am I feeling like this? Like, what can I do to change that? So I would say generally it comes down to about 4 reasons. So you may self-harm to manage your feelings. And what I mean by this is you may be extremely overwhelmed with your feelings and not knowing how to process that. You do this as a way of managing your feelings. You feel like, okay, this is something I can do. It gives me some relief. So this comes with those feelings of extreme sadness, guilt, hopelessness, anything like that. Or you may self-harm because you find it difficult to put your feelings into words. You don't know how to communicate this, so it's all bottled in until it gets to that point. Or you may find your emotions physically uncomfortable. Some children, they're not really taught how to deal with those feelings. They're not taught how to communicate effectively. They're not taught how to process these emotions, especially all the emotions that you're dealing with being a young teenager and navigating through life. So the second one is you may self-harm to communicate. Like I said, you don't know how to process these feelings. You don't know how to express yourself. So you may self-harm to show others how you feel or where you're at mentally. This may be perceived as attention seeking. I know I've heard that phrase a few times, but that is really a common misconception. Most people try to hide their self-harm from their friends and family. They wear long sleeves, they wear sweaters, they wear, longer clothes because they don't want people outright just to know that they're doing this to themselves. Another thing is they may self-harm to have control. Going through life, we cannot control what happens around us. We cannot control our environments. We cannot control accidents. We cannot control our grief. So self-harm is a way that they can feel in control of their body and their environment. This is something that I'm doing. This is something that is on my terms. Or they may do this as a way of disassociating from reality so that something to them can feel real. You may self-harm to punish yourself. So this may come as a result of punishing themselves for feelings or behaviors that they blame themselves for, even if it isn't their fault. Or let's say punishing themselves through displaced anger. They're mad at another person, or they are mad at another situation or something that they can't control once again, and they're taking that anger out on themselves because they don't know how else to direct it. So those are all 4 leading reasons on why people engage in self-harm. So how can I help myself if I'm in this situation of feeling these feelings or enacting in this particular thing? What can I do to help myself? Well, you can recognize your warning signs. Like, let's say you feel that you're slipping into a depression, you're sad, you're isolating yourself, you're not recognizing yourself, you don't do things you enjoy anymore. Recognize those warning signs. That's your body telling you, hey, something's wrong. Reach out to someone you trust. It doesn't have to be a parent, but it can be a parent. It can be one of your closest friends. It can be a trusted teacher. It can be a trusted counselor, another family member, anyone. Reach out to someone you trust, and eventually you'll open up to them. Or like I said, talk to a trusted school counselor. They are there as a resource. And I know a lot of people don't utilize the resources they have in front of them, or realize how those can be used as resources even, or how they're there to help you, or what they can do to help you. But they are equipped with the tools and the knowledge to help you in these particular situations. So reach out to those school counselors, talk to them. They can link you with local support groups. They can link you with proper treatment facilities. They can link you with numbers, brochures, resources, anything like that that might help you in your situation. They might have that information, or if they don't, they can navigate that with you and find it. So, and also, I would say this is the most important thing. Know that you are not alone. This is your situation, and of course, your situation is unique to you, as is everyone's situation is unique to them. But this happens more often than you think. There are a multitude of cases of depression. There are millions of people living with anxiety. Self-harm, like I said, 1 in 5 youth engage in it. You are not the only one. You are not alone. There will be people there to support you. There are people that understand how you feel. Like I said, reaching out, and then that's how you get connected with those people or those groups, that information that can help you. So once you recognize within yourself, okay, how do you go about reaching out for help? Like, how do you start these conversations? Not a lot of people know how to reach out. So it's important to reach out, because sharing your experiences can help your recovery. It's your first step to getting help. Acknowledging that you need help is the first step to getting help and getting better. So decide who you want to tell first. Like I said, someone you trust. Who do you want to tell first? This person is someone you feel listens to you, understands you, or can understand you, where you can help to understand you. They're there for you. Tell them first if you want, and they can help you. Telling your parents if not them, telling your counselor if not them, and helping you get to those resources. Think about what you're going to say and how you want it to come off. So you can do this by writing it down, planning it, going over it in your head, going over what happened, how you got there, just so you're better prepared, and it helps you get it across how you want it to, because at the end of the day, this is your story. You're the one telling it. So you can make sure that it's told right, that people perceive it right, and that it's not taken the wrong way. So be conscious of the time and place that you are making this decision to reach out. So, like I said, it's your story. You may not be prepared for more people than you are ready for to know. So make sure you're somewhere private, somewhere that you and the person you are telling are comfortable. So you can sit there and have that genuine conversation and not feel rushed, or not feel judged, or not feel like someone's going to walk in at any moment and realize that, and then feel embarrassed and go back into that shell. And remember your why. And what I mean by this is remember or internalize why you're telling this person in the first place. what do you want to get out of this? Are you doing this to get help? Are you doing this because you just want someone to know? Are you doing this because you want someone to understand how you're feeling or understand why you're different? Why are you doing this? And this as well, you do not have to tell someone in person. You do not have to sit down face to face and have that hard conversation. Some people may not be up for that. Some people may not be ready for that, or that may be too hard or intimidating. Like I said, this is your story. You can tell it when and however you want. You can write a letter. You can write a letter and read off the letter. You can write a letter and send it. It's however you want. You can write an email, like I said, read off of that or send the email. You can make a video of yourself. This way, you can control the pace, you can control what is said, or same thing goes for a recording. You can you can control the pace, you can control what is said, you can take breaks as needed and send it out when you're ready. So let's say you're on the back end of this and you're the person that someone is reaching out to. How can you help them? How can you help someone experiencing these feelings? You may not know, you may not have ever been in this situation, and that's okay. So something you can do is recognize their warning signs, pick up on them. Let's see, this is someone you love, or this is someone you're really close to. You know what they are like. You know their personality. You know how they go about life because it's someone you're close to. So when something's off with them, obviously try to pick up on that. You're gonna know. And if they come to you and tell you these things, try not to judge them. So if someone you know is having these thoughts of suicidal ideation or thinking of, or even already enacting in self-harm, it's understandable to feel shocked. It's understandable to feel scared, angry, guilty. All of those feelings are valid. Your feelings are valid. However, it's important to not try to judge that person for what they were feeling or blame them, because they are coming to you, they are trusting you, and they want someone to listen. So you have to try to be prepared for that. Next, talk to the person about how they feel. So if you think someone is suicidal, one of the most important things you can do for that person is to let them communicate their feelings to you. Because like I said, a lot of times these people, they don't know how they're feeling sometimes. They don't process their feelings. They don't know how to communicate them. They don't know how to deal with it or handle it on their own. So be that person they can talk to. And when you're talking to that person, you may feel pressure thinking you have to say the right thing. You can't say something wrong. You'll set them back. It is okay. Like I said, a lot of people don't know how to handle these situations until they're placed into these situations, and hopefully you'll never be placed into this situation. But it happens sometimes, and you may be that person that they trust. So don't feel the pressure thinking you have to say the right thing or you're saying the wrong things, because sometimes just listening, like actively listening, is the key to them getting help. So they want to see that you feel that compassion. They want to see that you're understanding them. They don't want someone to just sit there, blank face, staring at them, because they're going to feel judged. So like I said, actively listening, show them that you are empathetic, show them that you're compassionate, and then that can lead you to encouraging them to get help. I'm not saying throwing that on them. I'm not saying going to them saying, I'm going to tell your parents this is wrong, encouraging them to get help, be with them through that process, help them take that next step. So even if this person may be absolutely determined to take their own life, just the fact that they are telling you about it is maybe them saying, hey, I want to be understood. I want this help. So you can be with them exploring those options and finding that source of support that they need. So, and then asking them how you can best support them. Like I said before, that they realize their why. Ask them about that. Why are you telling me this? How can I help you? What can I do? Do you need someone to talk to more? How can I be there for you? So those are a few things that you can ask to help them navigate through that experience and help them stay safe. So let's say it gets to the point where it's active suicidal ideation. They have these thoughts, they have a plan. At that point, and if you're with them, make sure it's just them. Make sure you're talking to them, calming them, but you are getting that help. Make sure you have someone there with you, a parent, an adult administrative counselor, to help them get that help them stay safe until they can be exposed to those resources or facilities or anything that they may need. Okay, so how can you best care for your own mental well-being? So we have all heard of self-care, obviously. So self-care is something that is unique to you as well. This is something that works for you. So just finding a few options and navigating through those, like a few of those on the screen, taking a step back, meaning when you have those projects or when you have those major assignments, you're really stressed about school, you're really stressed about work, your boss is on you, taking a step back from those situations. It can be a moment, it can be a break, a vacation, just taking that time to come back, manage your own emotions. Like, okay, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. I need a little break. Okay, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I'm gonna come over here and just take some time to myself. So do that. You're entitled to that, and that's okay. Asking for help when you need it. Me personally, I'm stubborn. I'm not a big fan of asking for help. I've never been a big fan of asking for help. And it took me a very long time to realize that asking for help is all right. It does not make me less strong. It does not make me weak. It does not mean I'm unprepared. It does not mean that I'm less educated, that anything like that. Asking for help is okay, and it's one of those things that should be normalized because there's nothing wrong with it. Also, like I said, spending that time alone, that can also coincide with taking a step back or like dedicating your time to self-care days, things like that. Like, okay, I'm gonna go do something I enjoy by myself. I'm gonna take myself out. So investing that time into yourself before you can invest your time into anyone else, that is very important because you have to put yourself first. You cannot help anyone until you help yourself. So just remember that you cannot help anyone else until you help yourself. So another thing, saying no. It is completely okay to say no. This is another thing I relate to. I'm the type of person, I say yes to absolutely everything. You say, Shermya, do you want to join this club? Yes. Shermya, do you want another job? Yes. Shermya, can you babysit? Yes, all the time. I say yes all the time. And then it ends up with me feeling stressed out and me feeling overwhelmed. And then that's affecting my mental health because I don't know how to say no. So realizing that it's okay to say no. You don't always have to say yes. You don't always have to be available because, like I said, you have to take care of yourself before you can help anyone else. So that is very important. And then setting boundaries. This is another key thing in self-care, setting boundaries, knowing your boundaries, knowing what you are comfortable with, knowing what you are okay with, and communicating that to those around you, whether that be your family, whether that be your friends, whether that be teachers, just people you interact with, coworkers, anything like that, like setting those boundaries. Like, this is what I'm comfortable with, this is what I'm not comfortable with, and be okay. Again, be okay with that. You're entitled to your own privacy. You're entitled to your own personal space. You're entitled to your feelings. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so going a little further into looking after your own well-being. Sorry about that. So talk about how you feel. Identify your triggers, do something you enjoy. Like I said, take the time to relax. Think about what helps you calm down, set your boundaries, be kind and patient with yourself. So, like I said, talking about how you feel. If you're facing a difficult time, talking about the way you feel with someone you know and trust will more than likely help you get through that difficult time. You're not alone. You can rely on this person. I wouldn't say you're depending on that person, but you're getting support. So you're not handling it alone. There's often the problems when people try to internalize and handle it alone, that leads to those extreme moments of stress, extreme anxieties, and that can come out in negative ways. So just taking the time to talk about that, communicate your feelings, learn how to communicate those effectively. So again, bringing it back to me personally, just to give another instance, going back to the story I told in the beginning about the tragic accident that led me to get into those depressive moods. I had to learn how to talk about how I was feeling. It got to the point where I just couldn't hold it anymore. It was being very detrimental to me, affecting my health, affecting my mood, how I talk to people, anything like that. So I sought help, something that I never thought I would do. I reached out to my school, got connected to my counselors, and my counselor, she was really nice. She was really kind, really helpful, and she gave me a list of therapy options. And together we went through that list one by one, made those phone calls until I found a placement and got some help. So for some reason, therapy is looked down upon by a lot of people, especially in minority groups, saying like getting help or being in therapy, people call you crazy or they'll think something's wrong with you, but it's actually the opposite. Like you are getting help, you are strong, because that's not easy to do. Admit that you need help, that's not easy to do. Talking to someone, a stranger even, that's not easy to do. So you are strong, and that's the first step into you feeling better about yourself. So, and then talking to someone, that is the best way and the quickest way to build resilience and help yourself. Like I said, talking to your friends, talking to your family, talking to colleagues, anyone you're close to, that can help you. They can offer you that advice. They can give you a new perspective on your situation, and it can really end up helping a lot more than you thought it would initially. So identifying your triggers. So emotional triggers come in different shapes or forms. Anything can be an emotional trigger. Anything can remind you of someone you lost or remind you of a situation that really affected you, or bring up instances that may trigger some PTSD if that's something you suffer with. So these can come in the forms of like people, things, places, objects, sounds, music, smells, tastes, foods, anything like that. Anything can be an emotional trigger and bring you back to that time in your life. So make sure you identify those triggers. What sets me off, what triggers these negative responses, whether that's just remembering them. You can write it down. You can have a mental diary writing down your triggers, because once you identify those, you can know how to react when in the face of them. So it won't burden you as much as it did while you were going through that process of figuring out what they are. So now you know how to go into that and navigate through that. So doing something you enjoy. Again, this is important, putting that energy into yourself. What do I enjoy? Whether it be sports, whether it be hanging out with your friends, whether family time is important to you, anything like that, doing something you enjoy, something that makes you feel good is very important. Taking care of yourself. Take that time to relax. There's nothing wrong with that. Take that vacation time during your summer breaks, do something fun, take some time to relax, or do nothing at all. It's completely up to you. Again, it's your experience, it's your life, the way you navigate through it, what helps you, helps you. Okay? So think about what helps you calm down when you're in those moments or experiencing that intense stress or getting that anxiety that's really riling up. What helps you calm down? So this can be something like music. Music helps a lot of people calm down. There's even music therapy. So just turning on that music, closing your eyes, tuning out the world, laying down, taking a nap, drawing. You may engage in the arts, drawing, painting, sculpting, sewing, anything like that. Let's see what else. Counting. counting backwards, doing some breathing exercises, practicing mindfulness. This is all things that can help you self-regulate, help you calm down, make you feel at peace. And once again, setting those boundaries, knowing what you are okay with, conveying them effectively and productively, very important. And be kind and patient with yourself, because no one is perfect. You have to accept yourself. I know in today's society, especially with social media and everything we see, whether it's online, in the news, in a video, anything like that, we think, wow, these people, they have it together. Wow, look at her. Why am I not like this? Why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing what other people are doing in my age? You cannot do that. That is very counterproductive. And that's, you're putting yourself down, and that sets you back very far. So you have to find a way to accept yourself, like, as you are. Like, identify what you like about yourself. Like, okay, I'm strong, I'm resilient. Giving yourself those words of affirmation that can be kind to you, like being kind to yourself, taking that time that you need, taking care of yourself, taking care of your body, watching what you put into it, watching what you do. That's all important. And then patience. Be patient with yourself. Getting help, that's not something that just works overnight. You're not gonna be experiencing intense depressive moods and then the next day be up and happy and okay. This is something that takes time, and you have to dedicate that time if you really want to get to a better place. So enacting all these, finding what works for you, taking that into consideration and putting it into real action to work on yourself or better yourself is how you can best look after yourself and your mental well-being. So here are a few resources. You can write this down, jot this down for you or anyone you know that may be experiencing or having issues with their own mental health. You have the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Cal Hope, I know that is a very useful website that has a lot of mental health resources where they can get you connected with someone that does. Same with that website. And then Safe Alternatives. Safe Alternatives is a hotline you can call for self-harm. So once again, finding these resources, utilizing these resources because they are there to help you, or passing them along. You can be helping someone else. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Hopefully you learned something, or hopefully it opened your eyes to your own or someone else's experience.